Okay guys, so it has been a few days since I filmed the bulk of this video, which is a carburetor rebuild for a 2009 TTR 230. I initially started rebuilding this carburetor while the battery was pretty dead, so the starter wouldn't turn over the motor. Now that I have the carburetor redone and tried to charge up the battery, it appears that the motor is seized up because I can't even roll start it. Third, fourth, and fifth gear all have the motor pretty locked up. So now that the carburetor is rebuilt, which you will see in this video, I'm gonna have to go ahead and start working on unseizing the motor. So stay tuned for the next video where we work on that. What's up guys? Today we have the carburetor pulled off of my 2009 TTR 230, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the all balls carburetor rebuilding kit in there. The carb's pretty crusty, the rest of the bike's pretty crusty. The dog is not crusty, she's a sweet little hound. But we are gonna get to work on putting this carb kit in, so let's do it. Okay, so I'll take the bolt off down here. Now the original screws that are on this, one, it's almost impossible to get the bolt off whenever you've got the carburetor on the bike, on my bike. I don't know if that's how it is on all years, but good luck on mine trying to get a screwdriver up in there to get these four little screws out of the bottom. The all balls kit did come with 4 new screws for the bolt, and I don't know if I'm going to use those honestly because they look to be just Phillips screws, whereas these OEM bolts have a Phillips with a flathead through them. So it makes it a little easier when you have the carburetor off to get those bolts out without stripping them if you just use these ones. Anyway, once I get this bolt off, I'll show you guys the inside of the gunk. This little screw over here on the inside back of the carburetor has this little fuel line or air line or hose, whatever thing. And then this outside back screw has another hose clamp or hose retention thing on it. All of these have little lock washers as well. I'm guessing you could just go get new screws from your hardware store if you had to. So, time to rip free this bowl. And it is not wanting to come off of there. It's been there for years. There we go. Oh, my God. Okay, so, I believe that's the float. I don't know. I have no idea. My dad's getting surgery right now, and he's the guy that lived through the 80s, so he knows about carburetors. But, yeah, I guess now I'm just going to keep disassembling this bad boy and see where we get. But I may pause the video here so I can use my phone to look up the next step. Yeah, so hopefully I get a little bit of a comprehensive how-to video out of this for you guys. And okay, so we've made it to the next step of the carburetor rebuild. The float is out, and so is the little thing right there in the middle that goes underneath of the float. This float pin does not just come out easily like most carburetors. You actually have to take a punch and hammer it out. So I just took my vice clamp there with a rag in it, and I have a punch, but I don't know where it's at. So I just used some rivets and a tiny little screwdriver that I broke to punch that pin out, and it's still sitting right there. But yeah, this little thing goes over that little wire, and that's what makes a float. Okay, so once you have hammered out the pin for the float, you get the float needle out, and then you're probably going to have to take, well, you might not have to. If you're doing an old carb like I am, there's a good chance you might have to get this float needle seat out. And you might be looking at it like, what the heck am I going to do? Go get your drill, put a drill bit on that matches that seat really well, start drilling into it, and it'll start spinning with the drill bit. And then you can just work it and pull as you're working it. And it should help get that off for you. But yeah, shout out to the other dudes on YouTube that helped me figure that out. There is absolutely no comprehensive TTR 230 rebuild, carburetor rebuild thing on here. So, hopefully this helps you guys out just a little bit. Anyway, At this stage, we now have the main jet out, the pilot jet out, the float, the needle, and the needle seat is out. It looks like the kit, outside of that, it looks like the main jet is going to go back in, because I don't see that in the kit. I've got a new pilot jet. I've got just some other kind of jet. Maybe that's the bit that goes into... Yeah. Okay, so I've got the jet, I think... Yeah, okay. So now all I've got to do is put this little top jet piece in the main jet. This little piece stays. This top piece gets replaced. The pilot jet gets replaced. I don't know what this little needle valve is in here. So I'm going to look into that, and then I guess I'll be back to you on that. Anyway. Alright guys, so after we drilled out the float needle seat, we also had to drill out, this right here had this little copper cover right here with just a little pinhole in it, and that covers your fuel adjustment screw or whatever it's called. But that is the little screw that in the kit has a spring, and there's a little needle at the bottom of the screw, just a little flathead. So yeah, now it is time to change out the needle from the slide, the big main needle. Take any gasket residue off of here, really clean this thing off with some choke cleaner, carbon choke cleaner. And then put the new gaskets in and the new jets and slap it all together and put it on the bike. So I am going to get to work on the needle. Okay, so for the next stage, to get the needle out, this little assembly, this arm up here sits on this, and a screw holds that, so when you turn the throttle, it lifts that arm up. I found the best way to get that out was just to take the little cotter pin, or whatever you call it, off the side there, and then wiggle this out. Not all the way, because that spring looks and feels like it wants to explode off of there. So you can wiggle that out to just where there's enough room to get this arm off of that rod, and then you can pull this whole assembly out and change your needle. So hopefully that will be the last step in disassembly, and next we'll just have cleaning and reassembly. So back to that. Okay, so I realized that for a lot of this you didn't get to see me doing anything, and I may not have explained everything super great, but I think we've got everything built into there now. We've got the fuel adjustment screw, or whatever it's called, the pilot jet, the main jet's in there. We've got the float needle, and the needle seat is in there. Bowl's back on. So to do the and the main needle. To do the fuel adjusting screw, I had to drill that little piece out to get my seat to come out of there. Since my carb was super old, I had to drill that piece out, and make sure you don't fully remove this little throttle piece here whenever you go to do the needle, because I'm sure that spring would just go flying if you pulled it out further than you needed to get this arm out. So yeah, now the last thing I have to do is put this little gasket in right here, and put my gaskets on and seal up the carb and put it back on the bike. So I guess I'll see you guys when I do that. Hopefully everything goes well. I need to drain the fuel tank still and put some new gas in there, but other than that, we should have a rip and roaring dirt bike. So, see you then.